The proverbial iron curtain has fallen across West Africa. The split came when three nations, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, walked away from the ECOWAS alliance. This wasn't just a political disagreement, it was a seismic shock. In one stroke, 73 million people exited the bloc, slashing its geographical footprint by more than half. It was the single most devastating blow to the African regional integration since the body's founding in 1975. But this split was the culmination of a Cold War that had been brewing for years, a battle between two competing visions for Africa's soul. On one side, ECOWAS, a 50-year-old institution, now derided by its critics as a club of Western puppets, dancing to the tune of its former colonial master, France, while its people suffered. On the other hand, the new Alliance of Sahel States, led by revolutionary figures like Captain Ibrahim Traoré, promising to finally break the chains of neocolonialism and restore African sovereignty. The battle lines aren't just in presidential palaces. They are being drawn across social media, where millions of young Africans are choosing sides. The stakes could not be higher. In this episode, we dissect the bitter Cold War tearing West Africa apart. We expose the puppet masters, examine the devastating collateral damage of this division, and confront the reality that the very future of African sovereignty now hangs in the balance. The most immediate and deadly consequence of this political Cold War is a security vacuum. As ECOWAS and the AES remain locked in a standoff, terrorist groups are exploiting the chaos. Critical intelligence sharing has collapsed and joint military operations have ceased, creating new safe havens for jihadists. The results are written in blood, particularly in the coastal states bordering the Sahel. In January 2025, Benin Republic suffered the deadliest terrorist attack in its history. JNIM, an Al-Qaeda affiliate, attacked the Joint Triple Forward operating base near the border with Burkina Faso and Niger, killing 30 Beninese soldiers. Benin government spokesperson did not mince words, stating terrorists are now completely free in neighboring countries. This isn't an isolated incident. The 2025 Global Terrorism Index report that the Sahel now accounts for 51% of all global terrorism-related deaths. Togo recorded 52 deaths from 10 attacks in 2024, a sharp increase from the previous year. Terrorist groups are pushing southward, using the political rift as cover. Niger has already withdrawn from the multinational joint task force combating Boko Haram in the Lake Chad Basin, further fracturing regional security efforts. The very cooperation needed to stop this southward spread has been paralyzed by politics, while leaders argue the front line against terror dissolves. So, what caused this catastrophic split? The AES and its supporters point to one primary grievance, that ECOWAS no longer serves African interests, but rather those of its former colonial power, France and the West. For decades, the foundations of this critique has been the CFA franc, a currency system that, until recent reforms, required West African nations to deposit 50% of their foreign reserve with the French treasury. Critics argue this system stifled economic sovereignty and represents a direct line of neocolonial control. This perception was supercharged by ECOWAS's response to the coups in the Sahel. When revolutionary leaders took over in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, ECOWAS, backed by Western powers, imposed crippling sanctions and even threatened military interventions to restore previous government. This prompted figures like Ghanaian MP St. George to furiously ask why ECOWAS was quick to threaten war with its neighbors, but ineffective against the jihadist group that had been terrorizing the region for years. To many, the bloc's priorities seemed dictated by Paris and Washington, not from Abuja or Accra. The accusation is that ECOWAS became a mechanism to protect a pro-Western status quo, even if that status quo was falling on its own people. In direct response, the Alliance of Sahel States was born. On September 16, 2023, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger signed the Leptako-Guma Charter. Its core objective is to establish an architecture of collective defense and mutual assistance. Article 6 of the Charter is a direct challenge to ECOWAS. An attack on one member is an attack on all. This is more than a military pact. It's a project of total sovereignty. The face of this movement is Burkina Faso's 37-year-old leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. His anti-imperialist rhetoric and focus on self-reliance have made him a symbol of a new defiant Africa, drawing massive popular support far beyond his own borders. The AES is moving fast to build a new reality. They have launched concrete projects aimed at breaking from the old colonial infrastructure. They are developing a common passport to allow free movement. They have established the Confederal Bank for Investment and Development to fund their own infrastructure projects. And most significantly, they are in the advanced stages of creating a new common currency, tentatively called the Sahel, to permanently exit the CFA franc zone. These are not just politics. They are a declaration of the economic and political independence. The popular support for the AES leaders was fueled by years of frustration with the political class ECOWAS defended. Systemic corruption and perceived democratic failure created the fertile ground for a revolution. A prime example is Nigeria, the political and economic engine of ECOWAS. The 2023 presidential election that brought in the current president, Bola Tinubu, to power was widely criticized. The EU observers reported that trust in the Independent Electoral Commission was severely damaged, citing logistical failures and a lack of transparency. With a turnout of just 27%, Tinubu was elected with the support of less than 10% of Nigeria's registered voters. This is the government that then led the charge for military interventions in Niger in the name of restoring democracy. The hypocrisy was not lost on millions of West Africans. This is a continent-wide issue. The UN Economic Commission for Africa reports that the continent loses an estimated $88.6 billion annually to illicit financial flows, money that could be used for schools, hospitals, and create jobs. When democracy becomes a system where elites enrich themselves while the population suffers, people will inevitably seek radical alternatives. The ideas powering the AES are not confined to the Sahel. They represent a continental shift in thinking, especially among Africa's youth, the largest demographic on earth. The Ibrahim Traoré effect is undeniable. When Ghanaian rapper Sarkodie tweeted in his support, it went viral. Senegal's new president Bassirou Faye won his election on a platform that included monetary sovereignty and a potential exit from the CFA franc. This is a generation connected by social media, acutely aware of the paradox of a resource-rich continent plagued by poverty. They have grown up watching their leaders fail to deliver on the promises of independence. The AES has tapped into this powerful current. By launching initiatives like joint media networks and alliances for food sovereignty, they are signaling a desire to build systems that serve Africans first. This isn't just a political alliance, it's a cultural and generational movement demanding a final break from the post-colonial order. Herein lies the devastating tragedy of this Cold War. The two blocs are divided by legitimate and deeply felt grievances. ECOWAS champions constitutional order, while the AES stands for absolute sovereignty. But while they stand divided, their common enemy, terrorism, grows stronger. The security vacuum created by the split is now the single greatest threat to the entire region. Bakri Sambe of the Timbuktu Institute warns that the lack of intelligence sharing and joint patrols is a gift to extremist groups. The attack in Benin Republic is proof. Meaningful cooperation is now at a standstill. The AES accuses ECOWAS of being a tool for foreign intervention. ECOWAS views the AES as a bloc of illegitimate military regimes. Some quiet diplomatic channels remain open. Ghana and Senegal have appointed envoys to the AES, but the public rhetoric is frozen. For there to be any progress, both sides must confront the hard truth. The AES cannot secure the Sahel alone, and ECOWAS cannot restore stability through threats and sanctions. Unless a path to pragmatic security cooperation is found, the political Cold War will continue to be paid for with the lives of ordinary people across West Africa. This is Frontline Africa. If you value truth unfiltered and power reframed from an African lens, subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I am Ezekiel Enegeta. See you in the next one.